Okay. Um, so we know the Bible says that the third economic horse after the taking peace from the earth horse, um, the taking peace from the earth horse should be able to be seen because they should be going to war. Um, in some cases, because Jesus says to the apostles, "Don't be concerned when there's war from place to place. All these things must be, but the end is not yet." Now, the end we know is now. Um, but basically now. What we're not seeing yet is we're not seeing the wars. We're not seeing the third temple go up. We're not seeing the measure wheat for a penny. And um, but I want to go into the measure wheat for a penny thing again because what that's saying is a penny is a day's wages. So it's saying um, that you'll get paid a day's wages or a penny. You'll get paid a day's wages for a measure of wheat and 2 measures of barley or something like that. Well, what a measure of wheat is like a quart or a gallon or something like that, or so many gallons. So we know that, if you could pay a day's wages and it would be so many gallons, that you're getting those gallons for about $30 or $40. So the price of food is going to go up, um, but it's not going to be substantial enough to ruin people's lives. I don't think, where they lose their cars and their houses. I don't think that's going to be a thing that a thing that happens. I think it's going to get tighter on everybody because the price of food is going to clearly go up. But and it's there's something else that they give us as a clue. Um, that the price is going up is that he says, "And see that thou heart not the oil and the wine." Um, so the oil is like the fat, the lard, the butter, the pig fat, the cow fat, all the stuff we put for fat in our food. I think is what they're talking about when they're talking about the oil. And basically, they're trying to get us to eat more carbs. I don't know if that's because that sustains your life easier or with less work or not. But for whatever reason, they take out the oil and the wine. Um, so they're basically trying to, in a way, it's like they're trying to force feed you wheat by making everything else not accessible to you. They're trying to force feed you bread. Is all I can say. They're trying to force feed you the noodles and the pastas, the breads, the cereals, the oats, things like that. Now I've got a theory as to why that is, and it's because the oats keep longer. Oats keep from like 4 to 10 years or something ridiculously paramount to forever. Corn keeps, but they're going to be. We all know they're going to be using corn too, even though corn is very cheap and they can always grow more to feed us. They're going to be using corn too, probably for oil in the cars, um, unless they do electric cars. They may not, but the theory is that the wheat is going to keep for a really long time. So is the oil. Um, Corn oil or whatever keeps for a while in its containers. I don't know if it keeps for a year or how long it keeps, but it keeps for quite a while. But my theory is that like wheat flour stays good for like months, if not years, and oats stay good for years, and rice stays good for years, like 4 years or something like that if it's rice. Um, but so they have, it seems like they have greed as their motivation or something, or they're just trying to sustain the populace without having to pay them too much. So they're making the wheat expensive, or maybe something. There's this other theory too that goes kind of like this: what if they have infected like the grains, or what if they have infected everything but the grains? I mean, with some kind of mold, or what if they've caused it to spoil somehow? in one of these end time scenario things, where something goes drastically wrong and poisons could get in our food or something like that. But so I don't know what all that's about. If it's just the amount of money, I think it's just going to end up being about the amount of money that everything costs. Um, but so there's that. And so when the Bible says a piece of bread will buy a bag of gold, I think that the gold and the silver are going to get off from the market, because I think that the more reliable statement here is the measure of wheat for a penny. And let me tell you why that is. It's because obviously, if these two statements contradict each other, obviously, if you're going to get a bag of gold for a piece of bread, the only reason I could think that might happen is if nobody has any money at this point. It's a cashless society, right? And maybe the Christians have saved gold or something like that, or silver. If there's some weird way that they've known to save gold and silver, that gold and silver are on its own plane. You see what I mean? It's not like the penny. It's like gold and silver is on its own plane of existence. It's on its own plane of worth, and it's still worth something. So, but because people are starving, the Christians are starving, maybe a piece of bread would buy a bag of gold. But so we know that bread will be more expensive. It will be $40 or $50, how much you make when you work for a day, which is like $50, I'd say. $8 an hour, uh, 8 hours, $64, something like that. And that'll get you your quarts or whatever of wheat flour. Um, so that is an interesting thing. It's gonna completely transform America probably, because something is gonna go financially awry. It indicates where even America is going to be involved in it, and gold and silver are going to indicated to be helping people out when they're starving to death. Um, but that's kind of already happening, as they're using gold and silver for like all these technological advances. So you could see why gold and silver would be valuable to actually save lives. Um, but I haven't bought any gold or anything. I'm not putting my stock in a bunch of gold or putting my stock in a bunch of Bitcoin or anything like that. But I'm just kind of going along with the flow. I'm going to be one of the general populace that probably almost starves to death, but tries to keep um, some kind of flour or some kind of rice or corn oil or something around. Um, at all times, to prevent starving to death for however many years until Jesus comes back. He could come before people starve to death. He could come, obviously, he could come whenever he wants to come, because up till now, it's not been the end of times. Now it's the end of times. I figure he can come whenever he wants. It could be, it very well could be. I don't think it's going to be at the beginning, because the beginning's already happened and we're already recognizing it's the end of times. So, but yeah, pretty much at this point in time, he's going to come whenever he wants. But so that's my thoughts on the gold, the silver, and the penny in the very end of times.